communities, not only their countries, but the entire ASEAN region. To be part of something bigger than you, to be able to find that meaning and purpose is the reward I get from volunteerism. Much more than how and what I can give the community, I have gained much more than how I anticipated it to be.
Oh, Aliana! Welcome to Pyang Sakai.
Hello, Mr. Ibrahim. It's good to be back here. Trapeang Sangkai is a typical rural community in Cambodia. Much of their livelihood depends on the river and the small inflow of eco-tourists. Improving their environment would help them massively in improving their lives. Planting mangroves is not a new practice here. It's been done for generations, and people know its importance for marine life and protection from natural disasters. Recently, the younger generation had lost its interest in preserving their mangroves. So we began conducting workshops to show them that planting mangrove seedlings as an activity for tourists could be both profitable and beneficial for the environment.
We need one person to fry the fish.
Cambodian cuisine, particularly in Trapeang Sangkai, is unique. We taught the women to hold cooking classes for tourists to earn an income. They were so enthusiastic that even language barrier wasn't an issue.
And then you warm the ginger and you cook all the ginger put on top of it.
There are about 213 million young people across ASEAN. Empowering youth unites them and gives them a platform where they can serve not only just their communities, not only their countries, but the entire ASEAN region. To be part of something bigger than you, to be able to find that meaning and purpose is the reward I get from volunteerism. Much more than how and what I can give the community, I have gained much more than how I anticipated it to be.
Welcome Tropiang Sakai.
Hello,
Hello.
Mr. Ibrahim. It's good to be back here. Trapiang Sangkai is a typical rural community in Cambodia. Much of their livelihood depends on the river and the small inflow of eco-tourists. Improving their environment would help them massively in improving their lives. Planting mangroves is not a new practice here. It's been done for generations, and people know its importance for marine life and protection from natural disasters. Recently, the younger generation had lost its interest in preserving their mangroves. So we began conducting workshops to show them that planting mangrove seedlings as an activity for tourists could be both profitable and beneficial for the environment.
We need one person to fry the fish.
Cambodian cuisine, particularly in Trapiang Sangkai, is unique. We taught the women to hold cooking classes for tourists to earn an income. They were so enthusiastic that even language barrier wasn't an issue.
And then you warm the ginger and you cook all the ginger put on top of it.
There are about 213 million young people across ASEAN. Empowering youth unites them and gives them a platform where they can serve not only just their communities, not only their countries, but the entire ASEAN region.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Alda Anindea, and I am an intern at the ASEAN Foundation. Once again, I'm more than honored and Maybank Foundation to empowering youth across ASEAN to create meaningful and sustainable impacts to the ASEAN community. Starting from 2018, Empowering Youth Across ASEAN is deploying hundreds of youth across ASEAN to collaborate with local people and civil societies in advancing sustainable development in the ASEAN region through the spirit of volunteerism. Up until now, we have impacted more than 29,000 of people across ASEAN. The ASEAN Foundation and Maybank Foundations are proud to deliver the first Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Webinar Series, bringing up the topic of becoming the volunteer of change. As indicated in the name, today's webinar focuses on discussing as well as to celebrate and promote the recognition of impact from volunteerism and youth volunteers across the ASEAN region, and also in the spirit of International Youth Volunteerism Day, which fall on 5th December. Before we started the webinar, firstly, I would like to inform you that this event will be recorded and live streamed on ASEAN Foundation's Facebook page. Now, I will show a video of the meaning and significance of volunteerism shared by the ASEAN youth themselves. Please enjoy the video.
I really want to contribute because I started my career as a volunteer 10 years ago, and now I have a quite good career and a lot of experience, a lot of networking in Laos, in ASEAN and other countries in the world.
I volunteer because I have a really big concern toward children education right issues in Indonesia and also in other ASEAN countries.
Volunteering is sharing our time, sharing our energy in order to make the world a better place.
I personally define volunteering as the act of giving to help and giving to benefit others without getting paid or having any expectation of getting something in return.
To me, volunteering is being a part of a cause that serves as a betterment for your community. And nowadays, I think the word community is not only limited to the country that we're living in, but it also extends to the rest of the world as well.
The best part about volunteering is I have the opportunity to see myself and experience how people's lives change, and what matters most is to see people smile.
To be a leader, a stronger, focused and fierce leader is why I want to join this program. To be given the opportunity to widen so many aspects in myself to help this community is something I want to be a part of.
Basically, I volunteer because it is worth my time, and knowing that I am helping someone. When I volunteer, I feel I am connected with people and its communities serving towards one goal.
Youth is an essential source of community development because they have skill, potential, and creativity that can contribute to making a big impact to their country as well as to the ASEAN community as a whole.
Bringing together ASEAN as a whole is just a first step in bringing together a global humanitarian movement, and one that is bound to unlock a lot more potential in that.
I see IA as a great opportunity for me to develop myself, not only as an individual, but it also allows me to be a competent change maker in my community.
IA is one of the most prestigious volunteering platforms across Southeast Asia, and I do believe with IA I can maximize the potential or the impact that I could give back to the society.
As you can see through the video, there are so many inspirational youths out there that are ready to change the world and make it better. Even more, the video was made featuring our remarkable youth volunteer of Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Cohort 2, who will soon initiate community development programs in education sector, arts and culture, environmental diversity, and community development in several ASEAN member states countries. And we are hoping to reach and engage many other ASEAN youth change makers out there who are passionate and dedicated to create meaningful and sustainable impacts in the ASEAN region. For those of you who are interested in the program, kindly check out the ASEAN Foundation and Maybank Foundation's website page and follow our social media for more information and updates. Now, without further ado, to kick us off, we will have two opening remarks. The first one will be given by Mr. Shahril Azwar Jimin, the CEO of Maybank Foundation, and the second one will be given by Dr. Yang Niang, the Executive Director of the ASEAN Foundation. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Shahril to the screen. Please, Mr. Shahril, time is yours.
Thank you, Alda. Hello, everybody. Very good morning. And I would like also to take this opportunity to say selamat pagi, mingalaba, sawadika, sabaidi, cem rapso, xin chào, magandang umaga. And hello, everybody, once again. My special greetings to my good friend, Dr. Yang Niang, Executive Director of the ASEAN Foundation. And we have some very interesting panelists with us today. Lady Diandra, who is with the UNDP Focal Point Youth Co-Lab Indonesia. We also have Boon Lee Hun, Managing Director of CAN in Cambodia. Kenneth Kong from Sarawak in Malaysia. And very happy to have with us the cohort 1 of Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Changemakers. And we also have with us the new generation of changemakers, cohort 2, or future cohort 2 of Empowering Youth Across ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Thank you for the organizers and our partners from the ASEAN Foundation. This is very meaningful because as we sometimes forget, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. And on that note, that's why we conceptualized the idea and we started working with the ASEAN Foundation for the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program. Well, it's been a while since we've been together, or since we touched base with each another. It's been a very, very different world since the last time we did. But as you know, the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Cohort 1 was a very successful rollout with tangible impacts that we created from our youth change makers across all the projects that they went to. We had a very interesting time during the capacity building workshop in Bangkok. And then we saw the power of this program, because even during the capacity building workshop, it was very evident that this program is very different from many other volunteering programs. It encompasses things like design thinking, project management training, and also about how do we go out and really impact communities in a measurable and sustainable manner. So it's very different. So with that in mind, we are very excited to roll out cohort 2 and impact more people, because for cohort 1 we saw 30,000 lives being impacted, and that was huge. So, and we cannot do this without our partnership with ASEAN and the ASEAN Foundation. It's a partnership that we truly cherish. Really great bunch of people behind ASEAN Foundation. Thank you, Dr. Yang, to you and to your team. And we've achieved many milestones from this. And it's also been recognized all the way up to ASEAN, which, as we know, our Empowering Youth Across ASEAN was actually mentioned during the chairman's statement at the 2019 ASEAN Summit in Bangkok. And we also were very happy that we saw last year the extension of this program for another 3 years when we signed a new Memorandum of Understanding at the 51st ASEAN Day celebrations at the brand new ASEAN Secretariat building in Jakarta. So I guess all of you know the benefits of volunteering, on benefits of being selfless and in helping others, because it is when you're acting selflessly is that when you are your bravest, because it is also not easy to be selfless, to be out on the ground, to be doing more than what is expected of you. And for that, Maybank Foundation, Maybank Group, and also together with the ASEAN Foundation, we thank you for your participation. We thank you for your courage and for your stamina in being with us. And the benefits are numerous, as you know. We've heard some already in the video, why people volunteer, why some of our colleagues do this, and what would be the benefits. But we trust that it's a long-term journey in terms of your personal development in building your character. So many benefits that you can find from doing this kind of programs or projects, and benefits of volunteering, besides having a good social network platform, not just in your own country, but through this program throughout ASEAN, because then this program will also equip you to be ready at a more global stage, because our own countries are too small for us. Your own countries are too small for each of you change makers. You have been engineered to be more successful in the larger context. And especially in the region of ASEAN where we are, we need all of you. We need all of you to go out and do change and make a difference to the world that we are in. Volunteerism also helps you build up your own capacities in terms of your own careers and your own personal development. And all that, besides just helping your own selves or your own families, your own societies, communities, it also helps to build up this region that we exist in. And in doing so, ticks many boxes, not to mention the boxes within the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community Blueprints and also the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Not all of us can be hugely successful volunteers like Mother Teresa, who was one of the most iconic volunteers of all time, the late Mother Teresa. We all know what she done. Yeah, but also many people, even when they are successful in other fields, they go back to volunteerism. I'm not sure if you know that even the likes of Justin Bieber is a huge volunteer in Guatemala, where he works with orphan kids. And of course, in our part of the world, we have people like Angelina Jolie, who comes and does a lot of volunteering work in many countries in Southeast Asia, especially in Cambodia. So having said that, I thank you once all again for being part of empowering youth across ASEAN. Either you were in cohort 1 or candidate to be in cohort 2 as we go forward. With that, I would like to thank also our program partners, Dr. Yang and ASEAN Foundation, for making this program a huge success. And certainly also big thanks to our CSO and NGO partners, especially those who are here today. We have from Ken and also from Sarawak. Let's Go Sarawak project. Kenneth is here. And with that, I wish you very best in the future, and also very best for this particular webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shahril, for the wonderful remarks. Next up, I would like to invite Dr. Yang to address and inspire us all.
Thank you, MC. I just want to echo to what my best friend, buddies, Encik Shahril, Pak Shahril. Good to see you. I actually miss you guys a lot. Even though we are all in Malaysia, I'm now back to Malaysia, but we are on lockdown. So we have to be safe. So I hope to catch up with Shahril and team very soon. So allow me to do my official greetings today. So hi again, and to pagi to Mr. Shahril and his team. Shahril is actually a CEO of Maybank Foundation, and also Mr. Boon Lee Kun, Managing Director of CAN, distinguished panelists, and also ASEAN Youth Change Makers, all the kind people here. I can feel the kindness, today, because without you guys, the world will not be a better place. So good morning all, and welcome to our very first webinar series on empowering youth across ASEAN with the theme of becoming the volunteer for change. It is my great pleasure to see many of you here today. We have about almost close to 200 people, albeit virtually, and I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. On behalf of ASEAN Foundation, I would like to first express my sincere gratitude to our partner in crime, to Maybank Foundation, to their unyielding support and commitment in promoting youth development and participation through volunteerism. This partnership with Maybank Foundation is a very important relationship, and we hope that this can be a catalyst to promote more public-private partnership to come in the near future. So I want this to be the pilot, and also to encourage others to come to volunteerism, because this is the future, for social enterprise and social development. So in partnership with Maybank Foundation, we launched the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program in August 2018. And it is one of the ASEAN Foundation most well-known and anticipated programs in the area of community building. This program aims to empower youth by providing them with a golden opportunity to bring their project's idea into the real world and drive meaningful changes. The second batch of cohort 2 this time was welcomed with much enthusiasm and received a tremendous number of applications, which is 3,522 of youth application, and 79 civil society organizations registered as implementing partner. So this is one of the most sought after popular programs in our radar. So in response to the ongoing situation with COVID-19, we had to make the unfortunate decision to postpone the second batch of Empowering Youth. It's supposed to be earlier this year, but hopefully until 2021, when the situation is considered safe enough to implement the on-the-ground activities, then we will start rolling again. In the meantime, a series of webinars will take place from December 2020 to March 2021 to empower volunteers and equip all of you with knowledge and skills that you need to create a powerful change to your community, and also to other community in ASEAN region. Volunteerism is a catalyst for transformation. It connects and engages people to address pressing issues which cannot be solved by government alone. So together, volunteers can touch a city, reach a nation, and change the world. So young people are the key agents of our change, because like people like me, and I think most organizing committee are already on the retreat period, but we can actually share our passions with you, because myself in the volunteering worker has been many, many years. I started from my quite early age. And then I'm like what I want to echo to what Pak Syahril mentioned. Many people, when they go to business, they will come back again to volunteerism, because the fulfillment that you achieve from volunteerism is very different from the business world. So this is a different kinds of soul feeding for you. So it's very fulfilling. I'm sure the kind-hearted youth today, when you are here, you already know what is the meaning of volunteerism. So I would like to actually pledge and thank you in advance to all the brave youth here and kind youth, to encourage all of you to contribute actively, meaningfully to impact the ASEAN community and society. So once again, to end my welcoming speech, I wish to wish all of you a fruitful discussion for today. And I hope to see you more. And hopefully next year we can have ground activities and really touch the people's heart, and community in ASEAN. Thank you very much. I pass it back to the MC. Thank you.
Such an inspiring remarks. Thank you so much, Dr. Yang. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we officially begin the webinar. In the next 2 hours, our speakers will give their presentation on the topic of becoming the volunteer of change. This session will be moderated by my lovely colleague, Ms. Jenier. Ms. Jenier, I would like to once again invite you to the screen.
All right, thank you so much, Alda, and hello everyone. It's good to see everyone here. My name is Jen and I'm the Program Support Officer at the ASEAN Foundation. I'll be your moderator for today's discussion. As Alda has mentioned, today's webinar will discuss how the youth can contribute towards creating meaningful impact in their society through volunteerism. Before we start, let's play an ice-breaking game. I'd like to invite everyone to visit menti.com. It is menti.com. You can either use your phone or your web browser to log in to menti.com. Once you are logged in, please type the code 2007770. I'll wait for everyone to join menti.com. All right, I hope everyone can see my screen. I see that 13 people already joined. Once you join, you can write your name. Again, for those of you who haven't joined, please log in to menti.com and the passcode is 2007770. This quiz will test your knowledge about volunteerism and also how much you know the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program. But there is no right or wrong answer, so don't worry. Just type your answer as fast as possible to get the highest point. Okay, I'll give 2 more minutes to let everyone join. We have almost 70 people joining. Okay, I think we can start. Let's go to our first question of today's quiz. And I see so many people already joined, 75 people. Thank you very much. Remember to answer fast to get more points. First question, what qualities do people need to be change maker for sustainability? Is it knowledge? Is it skills? Is it value and attitude or sustainable habit? You have 1 more second to go and time's up. It's very fast, I know. And the wrong answer is sustainable habit. I hope that most of you answer it correctly. So let's move on to our second question. Question 2 out of 4. Which competency encourages you to think about your actions and beliefs about sustainability? Is it critical thinking, social skill, self-esteem, or strategic competency? 2 more seconds to go. Time's up. And most people said critical thinking, and that's very correct. All right. Now we are down to our third question. What is the motto of ASEAN? This is an interesting question. First is united in diversity, or is it one vision, one identity, one community? Is it one dream, or is it growth and peace? We'll see if any of you know the motto. Most of you said B, and that is correct. The motto is one vision, one identity, one community. Good to see that everyone knows the motto. And our next question, which one that is not included as the thematic areas of empowering youth across ASEAN? Is it environmental diversity, socio-political, arts and culture, or education? If you've been following Maybank Foundation and ASEAN Foundation social media, you should be able to answer this one correctly. Most of you said socio-political, and that's correct. That is not included as the thematic area of empowering youth across ASEAN. Moving on to our next question, why is it a good idea to volunteer? Is it because you can put it on your resume or you can meet new people? Okay, it seems that, all right. Most people said it's because it helps build skill set and experience. Some people said because you can meet new people with different outlets. Okay. It's good that nobody said because it makes your resume looks good. So I think everyone here are very passionate about volunteerism. So it's good to know. All right. I think now we can move on to our last question for this quiz. Which one of these volunteer projects interests you the most? Is it arts and culture, education, environment, or community empowerment? Okay. Most people said community empowerment, and the second most favorite is education. Okay, that's an interesting finding. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating. Let's see whether, okay, here is the leaderboard. Who get the highest score? Okay, congratulations to Bin Bui. You are the winner of this quiz. You received over 2,000 points, so congratulations. And now the quiz is finished, everyone. So please come back to the Zoom meeting and we will start our discussion soon. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone who already joined the game. I hope you feel refreshed and you get more hints of what are we going to talk today in our discussion. Before we start, I think I'd like to read some of the house rules of this webinar. First, for the speakers, please keep your microphone on mute while other speakers are presenting. Second, for the audience, if you have questions that you'd like to ask to our panelists, feel free to type it on the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel below. You can also vote for questions that you think is the most interesting or relevant. If you want to directly ask questions to our speakers, please wait until the Q&A session. I will give the chance to two audience to directly ask questions to our speakers. So now I'd like to introduce our excellent speakers of today's discussion. First, we have Lady Diandra. Lady is the focal point of Youth Collab Indonesia, a program by the UNDP. Previously, she was the program manager of Indonesia Future Leaders, which is a non-profit youth-led organization which focuses on youth empowerment and social volunteerism. Welcome, Lady. Second, we have Kun Bun Lee. Kun Bun Lee is currently the managing director of CAN. He has wide experience in managing various youth empowerment projects across ASEAN. He was also the project leader of EduSparks, an education empowerment project under the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Cohort 1. Welcome, Kun Bun Lee. It's good to have you here. And the last but not least, we have Kenneth Kong. Kenneth led a community building project in Sarawak, Malaysia, as part of the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Cohort 1 program. Last year, Kenneth received the Best Delegation and Diplomacy Award at the ASEAN Foundation Model ASEAN meeting. So as you can see, we have a great lineup of speakers today. So without further ado, I'd like to give the floor first to Lady. Lady will talk about volunteerism towards sustainable development. Lady, the time is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Jenior, for the introduction. It was a fun quiz as well. Glad that I made it to the top 10 for the quiz. So thank you for the interesting quiz. But before that, would I be the one who will be sharing the screen or?
Yes, I think you can share the screen.
All right. Let me share the screen real quick. All right, I hope everyone can see the screen finally. So good morning again, everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Lady Diandra. I am the Youth Kala Focal Point from UNDP Indonesia. And today I will talk about the youth role in Sustainable Development Goals. So speaking of Sustainable Development Goals, I'm pretty sure that a lot of young people in here are well aware of Sustainable Development Goals in Asia Pacific. So Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. It is a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. So basically, the 17 SDGs are integrated, recognized, and in action in one area that will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Well, I hope everyone in here is well aware of what a Sustainable Development Goals is. And a quick introduction over United Nations Development Program. It is basically a UN development agency. It is different with other UN agencies that you probably already figured out, like UNFPA or UNICEF, that is quite famous on what they are doing. UNDP is the House of Sustainable Development Goals. So we're handling a lot of work. We're basically supporting all the member states that have signed the Sustainable Development Goals and achieving SDG through integrated solutions. So what about Sustainable Development Goals in ASEAN? So recently I figured out about the SDG report in 2020 by University of Cambridge. As you can tell, SDG in ASEAN is actually not that bad. We are actually in average, we're 70 out of 100. As you can tell, there are other countries who already achieved 70 out of 100, like Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, but there are also other countries who are keeping up with our country's achievement when it comes to achieving Sustainable Development Goals. Regardless, this report has shown that countries in ASEAN are improving in terms of achieving Sustainable Development Goals that consisted of a lot of complex issues. So that's something we need to clap on. However, there are still several challenges in achieving Sustainable Development Goals. Reported from the ASEAN SDG Baseline Indicator in 2020, for example, there are still challenges in achieving no poverty. As stated in the report, the rural poverty rate was generally higher, with 18% of rural people living below the poverty line during the period. Other things that is also one of the topics in Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program is quality education, where literacy rate for females in the ASEAN region reached 91.9% in 2018. That is certainly a good number. However, we need to understand that in statistics, even if it is 91.9%, there are still several others that needs to be reached for literacy, because it is practically human rights to receive a quality education. Other problem is decent work and economic growth, in which I will talk later in regards to my experience as a volunteer in the UN. As you can tell from the report, it is reported that there's still a high level of youth unemployment at 12.7 for both sexes, men and women, that was observed in the ASEAN region in 2018. We can also tell that ASEAN region, several countries are experiencing issues such as cheap labor. And in 2018, 19.5 of youth aged 15 until 24 in the ASEAN region were not in education, employment, or training. This is certainly concerning, knowing that we live in 21st century that is very competitive in terms of achieving goals. For those who are not in education, employment, or training are vulnerable to live in poverty in the future. Other thing that is widely spoken and widely participated by young people is obviously climate action. On biodiversity, I have to mention, unfortunately, Indonesia has been suffering from declining forest areas annually, and we try our best to recover those forest areas that we have lost, whether it's naturally or unnaturally due to business processes. And other things, as a downside in living in such a metropolitan area, Jakarta has also suffered from unhealthy air quality. I also noticed that other ASEAN countries such as Thailand, especially Bangkok, have unhealthy air quality. That is one of the SDG challenges that's still lingering in ASEAN countries, including Indonesia. So the brief of the whole discussion is what youth can do to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. But first of all, we need to understand who is responsible for Sustainable Development Goals. When we discuss about Sustainable Development Goals, our main focus is definitely go to those member states of the UN who have signed that, in which that would focus on the states itself. But who is actually responsible for Sustainable Development Goals? Through this webinar, I would like to mention to every one of you that everyone is responsible in achieving Sustainable Development Goals. That includes women, children, and youth, NGO, local authorities, especially in business industries, and many more. So in that regards, we are also responsible for achieving Sustainable Development Goals, in which that gave us as young people more power and more responsibility in understanding that we should contribute in achieving a Sustainable Development Goals that would that would create a better life for us all in the future and in our current life. So for the options for youth, there are several things that young people can do. First, actively participate in youth dialogue. I have to explain that in my country specifically, there's a remaining gap in between government and also young people. Government always provided this youth dialogue. However, young people are not aware. It's always about the miscommunication that creates this gap, especially when it comes to development agenda. So the options for youth, first of all, to ensure that your voice are well heard, is to actively participate in youth dialogue, whether it's among young people, whether it's among academia, and especially among the government that is basically also responsible for achievement of SDG. And other things is, of course, to create change through your daily life. As you can tell that there are several other things, the challenges that I mentioned about quality education, about decent work and employment, about climate action. You can, for example, when it comes to climate action, you can be more responsible in your electricity usage. You can be more responsible in your plastic usage. That would basically contribute as well to the climate action. But when it comes to quality education, we can tell, I personally can tell, for you to figure out ASEAN Foundation and to understand that there is such program, you must be very privileged in obtaining higher education. You are able to understand English well, while we all notice that not a lot of people, especially those who are living outside the metropolitan cities, they have different access in accessing quality education. As you can tell in the previous explanation, women still have challenges when it comes to literacy. They have problems in how to read. So as an option for young people who are here, of course, you can create some kind of a educational webinar for those who cannot read, teach them how to do the basic in order to help them to access quality education. And other things is, of course, work. For those of you who wish to work at the UN or ASEAN or other development institutions, you are able to contribute directly to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. But for those of you who wish to work and change the world through private sector industry, it is also not a closed door for you. You can drive change through your internal institution. Try to explain how important sustainable development goals is, especially not a lot of people apparently, apparently a lot of people still not aware of sustainable development goals, especially those who work in private sector industry, where their main concern is all about profit. So by becoming that kind of person who are aware of the SDG while working at private sector industry, you're actually able to drive innovation and changes inside. Another option is to becoming United Nations volunteers. Probably some of you did not know that we as United Nations actually believe in the power of volunteerism. So we provide another working contract modality through United Nations volunteer, especially for those of you who haven't have enough working experience, but you have a solid volunteering engagement. We as United Nations volunteers, we would like to value more young people in entering the UN system through United Nations volunteers. So next, I will explain a bit about United Nations volunteers and why it matters a lot in the development and achievement of Sustainable Development Goals. So as a brief history, United Nations Volunteers Program contributes to peace and development through volunteerism worldwide. We work with partners to integrate qualified, highly motivated, and well-supported UN volunteers into development programming and promote the value and global recognition of volunteerism. As you can tell from the integrate qualified, highly motivated, this program, even though it is a volunteering program, it is also highly competitive. And UNP is administered by UNDP. And reports to the executive board of the UN agents that are listed in the presentation. So UNP has around 150 staff members at the headquarters, and of course, 8,500 UN volunteers deployed in the field all across the nations, including in ASEAN, in Indonesia, Thailand, and several other countries as well. So the dual mission for UNP is promoting volunteerism and also mobilize volunteers, of course. And I personally in here also work at the UN for nearly 3 years as a UNV. At first, when I stated to my friends that I work at the UN as a volunteer, I am unpaid. And I do the volunteers work that we know at other institutions. However, the experience of working as the UNP and UNDP is absolutely very different than other institutions. So I will try to explain a bit about my UNP. Yeah. So at first, I started as an intern at UNDP Indonesia. Immediately after I graduate, I started as an intern. And then I was promoted during third month of my work as an intern to become UNP Youth as a project support for a project, for a piloting of a project of Youth Collab, in which I will explain later. And right after that, after a year working as a UNP Youth as a project support, I got promoted again, still as a UNP Youth, but as a project coordinator assistant, because the piloting went very successful and I was given a lot of freedom in strategic planning of the piloting itself. So it expands from one program to youth entrepreneurship initiative, a very comprehensive package that provide end-to-end solution for youth entrepreneurship ecosystem. Following that, I was promoted again as one of the high modality as a UNP, which is UNP specialist at Youth Call-Up Project Lead. So to explain, basically UNV and UNDP, they also have some kind of tracks of career. It is not just a regular volunteers, but it has like ladders of careers that you can also achieve. And you're also paid in terms of your work. And there's several other benefits of volunteering that I could explain. The benefits are, first of all, you are directly engaged with government. And second, you are allowed to do the strategic planning. It's not often for you as a volunteer to be able to contribute or ideas or even create the whole strategic planning of a program. So that is one of the benefits as engaging as a UNV, working at the UN system. And third, you get to exercise your leadership, your communication skills, public policy skills, impact measurement, innovative fighting skill, and most importantly, project management. So within 3 years, I was able to gain a lot of skills as a UNV. And other benefits of working as a volunteers as well, United Nations also maintain the quality of their volunteers. So regularly, they also share a lot of capacity building courses for their volunteers, including language learning, project management skills, and etc. Okay, so I promised that I will explain a bit regarding Youth Call-Up and my work. So what is Youth Call-Up? Youth Call-Up is basically a social innovation program that focuses on empowering young people to become a social entrepreneurs. So this program has been running for pretty much the first time I joined UNDP until now. And the program started from one incubation program and expanded to be a youth entrepreneurship initiative that has 3 important pillars in developing youth entrepreneurship ecosystem in Indonesia that greatly contribute to SDG number 8, which is decent work and economic growth. The first one, we provided awareness pillar where we developed this event called Ideathon Asia, where we support young people, for those young people who are not aware of how to build their social enterprise, to join some kind of a boot camp, some kind of a hackathon. For those of you who probably watch Startup, you probably figure out what a hackathon is. But for those of you who didn't watch it, it's also fine. And second, we also have Action, where we develop a pre-seed incubator for those of you who have started your social enterprise and you're willing to scale that up. You can join the Youth Call-Up bootcamp. And last but not least, I mentioned the importance of youth dialogue. So we also create one of the first, we pioneer the advocacy work for youth entrepreneurship ecosystem, where we combine actors from Ministry of Youth and Sports, Ministry of National Development Planning, academia, and also youth entrepreneurs coming all across Indonesia to discuss about youth entrepreneurship ecosystem, develop a policy recommendation, and proudly say that some of the policy recommendations that we developed last year are getting accepted. And right now, the government of Indonesia is developing the first national strategy on youth entrepreneurship. So that's one of the benefits of joining United Nations volunteers. Even though you're a volunteer, you're able to influence the government in that level. This is the picture of Youth Call-Up. This is the demo day. This is the national dialogue. And I basically highlighted Youth Call-Up as a higher commitment from youth to help achieve the sustainable development goals. Through social entrepreneurship, which is a hybrid of private and public views to lead an enterprise, social entrepreneurs can act as a higher commitment because you're no longer just a volunteer, but you also try to sustain your community development, your volunteerism work to help attain a better planet while achieving profits to sustain your movement. For example, we have the first winner of Youth Call-Up. This is Latif. He created a waste management app that is that started as a community development work, where he supported all the low-wage workers at the Waste Bank in Medan, North Sumatra. He's basically creating like a Gojek. I'm not sure, like an app to pick up the garbage from the houses in Medan and recycle it through his app. So other cohorts is Atika Rishat, the CEO of Famlintao. Famlintao is a sustainable tourism where Atika focuses on selling agriculture products from West Sumatra, where the profit gain from the selling of Famlintao products will immediately support the literacy and help to improve the quality education of young people in West Sumatra. And all of them started as a community developer. All of them started as a volunteers. And when they join a volunteering work, they understand that they, as a young people, they have more power in create a change and able to sustain the impact that they would like to do by developing a social enterprise. So I suppose for those of you who are interested in joining Empower Youth Across ASEAN program, you can start as a community development. You can start by creating social innovation, starting from an idea. You can see whether the idea are well received and apparently creating a positive impact and help achieve the sustainable development goals. And if you want to sustain it, you can take a higher commitment by creating a social enterprise out of it. So it is a very positive news. It brings happiness to me as well to know that all these young people, whether the alumni, for those of you who are interested to join and knowing more about this program, is pretty much a great news, knowing that young people are willing to take higher commitment in achieving sustainable development goals. So as a conclusion, I would encourage all of you to have a higher commitment, more than just your daily life or your work, but to start an initiative, because there's a lot of benefits that would be provided for you, not just for you, but also for the community. Since we understand that we live in this world not just for us, for our profit and our gain, but we also live in this world for the goodness of others and living as a community, as stated previously in the opening remarks. So I hope that the webinar pretty much explained about sustainable development goals and youth role and the higher commitment that you can do. And I suppose that concludes the presentation from me. Thank you so much. Over to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Lady. That was very inspiring and insightful presentation. I think from your presentation, we can all learn that we can start by creating a small social innovation, and we can start implementing the idea, see how the community respond to that, learn from that, and to make it sustainable, we can start by creating social enterprise. So thank you very much, Lady. I'm sure our audience are very enlightened by your presentation. Before we move on to our next speakers, I'd like to remind again to our audience to type your questions to the panelists on the Q&A box on your Zoom control panel below. You can also vote for questions that you think is the most interesting. And when you type the question, it's good if you can mention to whom you'd like to give that question to. So our next speakers are Kun Bunli and Kenneth. Bunli and Kenneth will talk about volunteerism beneficial to personal and professional development. I'll give the floor first to Bunli. So Bunli, the time is yours.
Hey, good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank very much for the Empowerment Youth Programs, ASEAN Foundation and Maybank Foundation, especially in having me to share views and experience at this webinar workshop, which I hope I can share what Ken team and our community team together has been working in the communities along the border of Cambodian and Thailanders in Cambodia. As I would like to start from why we got connected into the empowering youth across ASEAN. So let me share screen. Yeah, so I forgot to, sorry, I forgot to, okay, is it working now?
Yes.
Okay. It's been very, supportive and great to work with the program called Empowering Youth Across Asia with Ken teams and the community team in Cambodia. And that we come across together and getting to know each other. And then the first cohort team came down and we, started to, what we have been saying so far is volunteer and helping the poor community and children to be inspired, to be, continuing the education by engaging and sharing and giving what we can help. And what I would like just to start with this picture is, even though the team or ASEAN Youth in ASEAN Youth has been leaving, but we continue our job and having our local team continue what is, I call it, the sustainability from the project of EduSpark. So EduSpark, that we have been working with the empowerment youth across ASEAN, which is the cohort team, it gives another opportunity for the local community and local volunteers. As I will, mention a bit about how can he's gonna work up together on the volunteerism in Cambodia and across the countries and connecting with the other Asian countries and the world. As probably we know, and everyone might know that at the moment we see a lot in the modern world, or like volunteer is about you yourself or a group of person that can help to the others without having, expecting in returns of money, but expecting of what is a change, what is the positive change of lives of the future generation, especially for we talk about children, to change their life through education. That is, I would give a brief, definition of volunteerism in terms of the background of us as the context of rural development. It's not just, everywhere, but just context of what we are doing at the moment. Of course, volunteerism have any various definition based on the global context, the community context, and the country context. Probably I wanted to share, maybe everybody know, and the other participant has known that one country, Cambodia is one of the countries that's been suffering a lot from a loss of domestic skill during the difficult time of the Khmer Rouge time. And I will not go in detail on that, but everyone should know about that. So there is a big needs of skill and knowledges and support to help the country going on and upgrading and getting into the progressives again and development. So that's the thanks everybody involving in supporting us from so many years in Cambodia. And we know that how many support that we got from other world. We have a lot of NGOs, international NGO, UN development partners, and things has put a lot of effort on that. Still, there is a big gap on a progress of development in the community, which is a rural community. So based on the need, or based on the great needs of the education and health in the community area, especially I'm talking about the long border area, which is, we find out that there's still a bigger needs of education. That's why Ken is coming up together from our team as a volunteer. So let me just go briefly about our team as a volunteer. We have a 25 together as a member or staff of CAN now, but we work with 106 communities. We work with over 200 local volunteers at the moment. Why we do this? Because through my experience, through my life journey, I believe volunteering is giving you an opportunity. Even an opportunity that you can do to help your own country, to help your own people in an area of difficulties or in a remote area, or even in the area where you think that you still need your support. Or if you become better, then you will be able to share your support to the other countries or other nations or in the global. And you know that, starting from one of us will share and contribute to the development of the countries and the nation in the world. For example, as the speaker raised about the climate change, that we can try to reduce all these effects. And especially also by education, we have to start from children and helping them to get into access to education and the quality. And we have to talk about SDG 4, which is quality education. And by experience of the last development goal has been failed due to some reason that the commitment have been not achieved 100% as it is committed. And why? It is also part volunteerism for us is a self-development process and the gaining knowledge and learning to change your attitude and personally and attitude yourself to the others, respect, and also learn from the other people. In turn, we live together as one population, one planet, or solidarity we talk. Let's go to I want to share a bit from my life, why I come up together as this and found this organization, working in the community over with 10,000 children at the moment. Because my life has been starting from a difficult situation, poor family, end up in somewhere in the middle of a place without knowing what education is about. But what I am told by my mother, that only learning that can help you. To connect to that kinds of my idea, at that time when I was young, and my mother's idea today, education, then I just go up, talk to others and friends, and then come up to be a volunteer myself when I was the age 16 years old in an association. And as the beginning raised by our, a speaker, that I started to learn from others, world leaders, and others, especially the Nobel Prize peace leading, like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, which is for me, I learned quite interesting on humanitarian works, how people from you yourself, starting yourself and help to the others. And that is the point that we come up together, and I have talked to my team here, and we start this organization and we start this work with the local community in 2014. I was having a great debate with my old friend as a director's organization when I started to put the local volunteer into the agenda of our focus area. Someone said, having volunteer working with you is not, making your organization getting growth because, volunteer is what? Nothing. I find it interesting to debate with him why. And then, we had a long discussion, but since 2010, when I am experienced doing the group of the volunteer, I started doing this, and until now, 2014 until now, we run this organization, children with, we're working for children over 10,000 in the remote area, giving them an opportunity to read, to write, and to become literate and develop their full potential in the future. That's why one of the key areas for us is we integrate into other project, which is a 5 years, but capacity development leadership for children and youth is one, because we believe that youth volunteer locally or from internationally can help change the community that they want to help. And by that experience that I put it in, the communities, the local authority has been supporting on the initiative. So as I mentioned at the moment, what is our sustainability together that we've been working? We have had over 200 local volunteers, and we're still working with other international volunteers instantly. So like we have different groups on other country in Asian, other countries in Europe, and other countries in like UK. So that's what we are doing, and we are keeping going on. Let me just sharing with you about what we gain from volunteerism. I would share into two parts. One is local volunteer, which is, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a time that they receive the support from someone volunteering their job and help engaging them. They get into becoming themselves, improve and learn and make a change for themselves personally, but also a change for themselves to help back to their own community. For example, some of the early volunteers we have been working so far become parts of it. They've been working in this 100 school, and we have 9 of them becoming a school director, which is working in the school management in the remote area, I would call in the area of the borders, and others become teachers. And we have at the moment in the community council, local authorities, at those areas, we have at least 1 or 2 hour volunteer working there with them. So this is, for example, that by giving volunteering or internship or providing the opportunity to get engaged with us and trying to work from the commitment, from the heart, and seeing the value helping others, that's really making a change personally and the job. It's not just a for oneself or the other, but it's together. Have to think about when doing volunteer, you have to get 2 ways, what we get from and what the other get from us. So we believe that volunteer, that helping their own community, will put the heart, the support, and the knowledge to help the others, and then they feel more than what they can give. And secondly, they bring in skill and becoming part of the here to the community, and then becoming the model. So, for example, we have in those community we work at the moment, our youth volunteer there has been accepted by the government and by the local leaders as them at being parts of the development partners of their own community. And that's the time when they're held back and they started to give back what they learned by volunteering all day to the new generation. Let me just go a bit on international volunteer that I am and with my team has been working together so far. It's been very helpful that an organization or an association or a communities that, especially in the remote area, need to have an open and to have a communication and interaction together with others. So, I mean, they're not just hidden anymore by just themselves, but getting engaged with the others and especially engaged with the surrounding nation, they be given a perspective, what is in the world? Exactly, giving an example that we have been starting working with empowering youth program across ASEAN. It's very interesting that we find out from a local volunteer teams and the ASEAN Empower Youth team together, they have been working on changing experiences, changing the knowledges, and changing the concept of culture. So people started to understand and to know what other countries is doing, what are the system of the education, and what is my education system, and what is my country is doing. So it's interesting to learn now from one of the local group that they said that during a workshop that the team we have from Empower program in 2000 last year came, they said, I don't have any ideas about Asian countries. To me, like, we didn't expect that because we focus too much on, like education, read and write, and some kind of life skill in terms of, like the basic skill, being able to read and write, and a bit of critical thinking. But we haven't thought much about open to the other. From that perspective, and with the project design with EduSpark, we come up as an idea to establish a small project which is called a community training center. So the community training center that we have, I'm gonna show you in the video clip for 2 minutes that I'm going to tell what we got from that and what is the Empower Youth Across ASEAN program have helped us, and initiative has bring us to now, and then what we're gonna do in the future. But we believe that together with your time as a volunteer, with your heart and your participation, taking part, we have clear idea and the clear purpose to help others. And we're not alone to do this, but together with the community, local volunteers, and your contribution will help change, which we believe the life of those rural children can be flourish and success in the future by education, as we believe in. Let me just show you what is the impact of the Empower Youth program that we have last year from our volunteer. And on behalf of Ken team and the community, we believe strongly on volunteerism, and it is the philosophy that we have to ensure everyone is one planet and one population, and we live depending on each other. Volunteering is, for me, myself, and my team, I would like to say it's help with heart, and then help someone to change. And when you can give an opportunity or support others to help and gain the knowledge and gain the change inside and outside, then that would be the great time. It would be a reward for us all. So we should start now, start from you, as empower you together, and your energy and knowledge will help change the community of the countries or community that has been in a great need of this support. Thank you. Let me go to the video. So this is the youth center now, that's before, and this is where we're working in the community. And you can imagine on the difficult area. And this is the group that we have been working together with the Empower Youth team. So even when the team is left, this is the continuation of our work.
Sorry, Bunle, are you sharing a video?
Yep.
Okay, we can only see like one screen. The video is not playing. Perhaps you can try again.
Sorry.
We couldn't see the video.
You see that?
Yes, now we can see.
Oh, sorry. this is the So thank you very much. So let me just wrap up. With this four together, we've been working with the empowering youth across ASEAN. We start together with a small project, but over the years, now we sustain this project together. With at the moment and the community of Vilchambang, that the team has been starting this together. We're taking, the starting point of the center. We have over 100 youth there, engaging in the supporting by teaching computer, teaching other to the younger generation students, and they themselves becoming into different workshop and skill building by the project that we got other support. Thank you very much for your patience in listening. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Punli. That's a very nice video. I see that some people said they really like the song as well. So it's very engaging and interesting. Thank you very much.
You.
I think it makes everyone wants to go and do their volunteer work right here, right now. So thanks for that. And I think one thing that I really like from your presentation is that you mentioned that volunteering is help with heart and it enable others to flourish together. And I think that is a spirit that everyone must have. And I think with the help of programs like Empowering Youth Across ASEAN, with the grants and with the training and with the connection, it can help the volunteer project to enlarge the scale of its program. So thank you very much, Bunli, for your very engaging presentation. Up next, I'd like to invite Kenneth to the screen. So Kenneth, you may start your presentation.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Kenneth, and I'm part of the first batch of the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program last year. So I think looking back just last year, I think the world is so much different. And I think it makes us so much thankful for what we have every day and sometimes the things we take for granted. So anyhow, the topic I'm asked to speak upon today is volunteerism on personal and professional development. I think the topic itself assumes that volunteerism itself will bring about personal and professional development, and I want to remove this assumption for now, and at the same time find out what you guys think. So I intend for this to be a fairly interactive session. So please log on to menti.com and enter the code which you see on the screen above, 6158386. So just give a minute for everyone to do this. Right, so at any point of time, if I'm not being clear, or you may use, I think the question function on Menti, but if let's say it's a separate question altogether, I think you can leave it for the combined Q&A session, which we have later. Right, so does anyone have any issues getting onto the page? Otherwise, I think I'll begin, right? So for those of you who are on, here's the first question, right? Why do you think people volunteer? So I think you can submit a few responses, but try to summarize it in a few words. I think you can submit, multiple entries as well. So I'm just curious to find out what you all think. Right, so I think we see a lot of responses now. Experience, development, sharing, network, that's interesting. Help, caring, to share, right? Passion for a cause, service, social skills, to gain experience for self-happiness, right? That is something important as well. To inspire others to make impacts. So many different things. So there's so many reasons why people volunteer, and there's so many reasons why you want to volunteer as well, right? Okay, so let me go on to question number 2, right? Right, so question number 2 is this, right? Do you think that volunteerism is beneficial to your own personal and professional development? Okay. So this is just to get a feel about how you feel about this topic, whether you believe that volunteerism will help you personally and for your professional development. Come to think of it, this is a bit like a double-barreled question. So it assumes that you agree to both or either one of it. We're seeing a lot of strong yeses. I think it's also due to the selection bias of all of us being volunteers, or most of us being volunteers who are attending this webinar. So we lean closer to the yes side. Of course, I believe there are people who feel that why should I volunteer, right? And we see a few maybes, right? Maybe one but not the other. Maybe personal but not professional, or the other way around. And I think this is almost all the responses we have. And let me go to the next question then. And you can think about, why or why not. So which is the next question, right? Do you think that when you answer and a lot of you say yes or strong yes, I want you to answer, in a few words, why you think that volunteerism is beneficial to your personal and professional development. And if you're able to split up both these aspects, it'll be really helpful. Why is it personal to your personal development? Why is it beneficial to your professional development? And I'm very curious to see your responses over here. this can be a rather long response, so I'll just give a minute for everyone to just type in their responses. Right, C1 fills up the heart, certainly. Right, so many responses. This is interesting, right? You realize your weaknesses and strengths, and of course, it gives the opportunity to serve and change our communities. I think this is a good one, right? Realizing your weaknesses and strengths, and it helps you, especially on the professional side as well. Enhance your point of view. This is interesting as well. It gives you a lot of opportunities to play with, which might not be achieved through the formal education system. Expanding one's horizon, I definitely agree with this. Exercising empathy and kindness. So just a bit of sharing. Back in my university, we have this criteria that everyone has to complete. I think back then it was 80 hours of community service in order to graduate. So I think the purpose of that is to let people or let students know that, you know, there's just so much else around outside of school that you have to experience, that you have to understand and to help. And by doing so, it just gives you a glimmer of what is there in the world and the opportunities out there, but also the people, the things, and the causes which need your attention as well. It makes me feel human. I completely agree with this. It may not be beneficial for one's development when it's done forcefully or for selfish gain. This is an interesting point. So it really begs the question, right? If someone is being asked to volunteer, or is it important to look at the reason behind someone's volunteering? If someone is volunteering because he or she has no choice but to do it, do we discount that fact? To me, I feel that if the act of volunteering gives you new insight, I think it's already a plus, right? And it might change your point of view as well. And I think that is what volunteering does, right? It expands our worldview, it expands our view of where the community is, our place in the community, and what role we have to play. Right? Okay, this is true as well. You can gain many friends abroad, international experiences, and more personal skills. Participating with people abroad, and this is, I think, something unique about this program, about the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program. So I still keep in touch with my fellow batchmates, those whom I'm with in the same project group, as well as my fellow volunteers from the same country as well. All right. Exactly, you know, it improves your project planning skill as well. Right. Just trying to speed read through all these responses. Right, polish soft skills. And yes, indeed, this is essentially very helpful to professional development. So professionally, it's good for your CV. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'll share with you guys a bit about my experience later as well. But yeah, it seems that you all know the answers. So in fact, a lot of this theme is really answered by all of you, right? And it's really the essence, right, of sharing thoughts and experiences. Let me go to the next question now, right, which is something I have, I'm curious about, right? Personal versus professional development, right? So there are two parts to this question. So listen before you vote, right? Right. So 4.1 is, do you think in general, right, is volunteerism more beneficial to one's personal, which is on the left side, or professional development, right? And 4.2 is just for you, right? Do you think that volunteerism is more beneficial to your personal or professional development? So one is just a general sense, and two is just for you, right? Right, okay. I think most of us have responded, and it's quite interesting that almost all of us think that it's more beneficial to professional development than personal development. Right, okay, that's interesting. I didn't expect this, but I have to say this. To me personally, I feel that volunteerism is beneficial to us personally first. But when we look at professional development wise, when we go into the workforce, it's really about who we are. And by developing personally, it will help professionally as well. I think at this day and age where, there's like work-life integration, it's very difficult to separate between the two. So let me just do a bit of sharing before we move on to the combined Q&A portion. Let's see. All right, so here are my thoughts, all right? The first point is this. I think volunteering helped me figure out what I want to do or not do, right? I think it helps you do that, right? Because we have some degree of choice when we choose to volunteer. We can typically select the causes which we believe in. Therein, it gives us the opportunity to experience, whether this is for us, whether this is not for us. We definitely get to know more people and more causes which they work on. And I think that falls into part of networking, which is what someone responded in one of the earlier questions. And I think it's very important, right? Especially when you move on to your professional careers, for those who do. And as I mentioned today, I still keep in touch with my fellow volunteers from this program and from other programs as well. So I wanted to share this point, which I briefly alluded to. I think one of the experiences which I picked up actually was picked up by one of the recruiters who saw my profile and decided to give me a call and eventually to land me the job which I'm in right now. So I did an internship in Kenya in Africa, and it stood out. So the recruiter was curious, why do you do this, right? It was to start up village enterprises. And I shared that, well, I shared that I love to try new things. I love to explore new places. So they figured that, I'm comfortable with risk. And I think one thing led to another. I don't think it's wrong to say that you're using volunteering experiences to beef up your resume or CV, but that might not be the best thing to do. I think that it's best if You do what you're passionate in, you do what you like to do. Next point is about being able to manage better. So I talked about, you have some degree of choice, but sometimes in your own project groups or in volunteering with different causes, you have to learn how to work with the people around you, the different people, be it the beneficiaries, the communities, the organizations, as well as the resources, work along with the culture of things. And this is very similar to, workplace environment where you have to adapt, you have to work with what you have. You have to also manage expectations. So, sometimes when we come together as volunteers, especially just recounting an experience for my project group as part of the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program, there are different expectations within the group, and we come here for different reasons. Some of us volunteer for different reasons, which is the first question, right? And being able to manage that expectations, I think, is one of the greatest challenges, not only in volunteering, but also in your professional career as well. So being able to manage that expectations very well is important. Leaders will rise up to the occasion, and you'll start to discover the strengths of different people. And I think this would help, especially in your professional career as well. And on the last point, which I have, it's really for me to truly ask ourselves what is important in life. I think after volunteering, we kind of get a little bit more picky because you start to ask yourself, how does this project help the community? Is this the best way to conduct the project? Who are you helping? What are you helping? And similarly, it would apply to also our professional careers, because I start to ask myself this more often, when we pick for jobs and, when we apply for jobs. I was like thinking, so what's the meaning of this job? Who is it helping? Where's the purpose in this? And increasingly, it's a more important thing in workplace satisfaction. There are also companies and organizations which make it compulsory to volunteer as well. I think it's a good thing, actually. It increases awareness. It makes people be able to see different things. So on this last point, I think that volunteering actually helps us widen our view. We are able to see more clearly what is important to you, and of course, what is less. And sometimes we always thought that, oh, this is important and things, but after our experiences, we kind of realize and kind of understand, what is really important to you, and focus on what's important, which is the key, I feel. Right. So I think I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. That was very insightful, and it's a very interesting idea of how you talk about the issue. It's a very interesting method also that you use. Three things that I highlight from your last PowerPoint presentation, which is volunteer can help us figure out what to do and not to do. It makes us a better manager. It makes us better at managing our team, managing the problem, and especially managing expectations that comes from around us. And lastly, it makes us truly ask ourselves what is important in life, and it makes us more picky and more sensitive and aware to the purpose and meaning of our job. So thank you very much, all panelists. I'm sure all of our audience are very enlightened right now. So now I'll give the chance for those who would like to directly ask questions to our panelists. You can use the raise hand feature. I think first you can click the participant button below on the Zoom control panel. After that, you can click raise hand. I see that one person raised hand. It is Reina. 1 second, I will allow you to unmute yourself. Oh, okay. Reina lowered the hand. So one person raised hand. It's Tun Aung Kiao. You can start by mention your name and mention who you'd like to give your question to. Tun Aung Kiao, I think now you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hello, hello
Yeah. Hello.
everyone. Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Yeah. I will. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Jo. I'm from Myanmar. I would like to ask the questions. To for the, I would like to ask the questions about the sustainable of the projects carry on after the project is finished. So what is the best model to survival of the projects go beyond after without funding itself, and then go after the project. And second one is how to identify and drive the projects to meet the project goal. If even we face the barriers and crisis and then risks appear while it's ongoing. Yes, these two questions I would like to raise to three panelists. Anyone feel free to answer my two questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think panelists, you can answer it very briefly. I think I'll start first with Lady.
Okay, thank you for the question. I suppose the question is about sustainability of the program after it is finished. So it's about the outcome of the program. Did I catch it correctly?
Uh, yeah. Sometimes some of the program is like is have to be keep going on itself without even the funding is stopped. So how can we carry on and then make a more sustainable for the project to be impact in the long run? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. I think in my case, since I am working with youth entrepreneurship program, I would suggest that despite that all these young people in here develop such a very awesome community development program, it is also very important for us to understand what is the social business model that we would like to have. So in this case, I would raise back the question to all the young people in here who have developed their community development program to think what are the chances to finance your own program. What are the business models that could probably work? For example, when it comes to, I have this friend who developed a very cool program in Krui, one of the area in Lampung, Indonesia. She started to understand that a lot of surfers came and need clothing. So she developed this educational program based in Lampung, while at the same time she also sell clothes in which the profits will help to support the educational community development program, where she and her friends taught English to some of the youth who are based in Lampung. I think that's one of the idea that could be done. That's why I mentioned by turning your community development into a social enterprise that could help to sustain the program once the funding is finished. However, there are also other options such as peer-to-peer lending, donation, and other money streams for the program. I hope that I could explain more elaborately through chat box later on, but over to other panelists.
Yeah. Bunli, perhaps you want to give your comments to that question? Very briefly.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I see a few questions to me as well, which is I tried to give summaries on those together with the sustainability. You see, sustainability is big and it's a challenge for every project. So, but if you think a project is sustainability one thing, but it should be the system sustainability. For me, a project help to integrate with the existing project of the countries, the community itself, or what the people here has been starting and changing within their own consultation with the community. For example, as I can give examples of the school we built, 69 schools with the communities. So we have some donation, but we have contributed from the local community themselves. And then the best thing to keep the sustainability, because we believe on behalf of Ken, one day Ken is not existing because, CSO organization will go, but the community themselves, the leader, their own community, the local youth community will hand over, will continue the job. So over the 69 school we built, we have already transferred 85% of the school. One is to engage with the community council for the future investment funding, which is they give with teachers, and talk and work with the government in collaboration, and we work together in the countryside and the local authorities, national level, international level. That's to get why we not talking about sustainability from the beginning rather than just to say finished project, evaluation, ending. So the recommendation then it's going to be late. So what we are doing so far is to start talking together, working from the beginning, and hand over the project result to the government. And we, one day, no money or no project funding, we have to commit ourselves in technical support as a volunteerism. Secondly, I would just add, it's difficult to make sure that every project is sustained. It's depend on the nature of the work, and it's depend on how one agency know how to work and committed and passionate. It's not about yourself. It's not about what you're doing just so my country is this, your country is that. So it's not about that. It's about how the futures of the community people there and their children become developed through what we can give them. That's what I believe. And then when the community and the parents and the local you understand, and the community understand, they will go on the job without us anymore. And that's what I believe. And that's what we've been doing so far until now with the school and the community we've been working. I hope that can answer to some of the question even raised by the other. So sure, there's challenges in doing that because it's not easy to work with people as we have to, learn to be understandable, challenges, culture respecting, and knowing what the ground's doing. I've been experiencing a lot, somebody said about when can start, the question, when can start hiring volunteer? To me, hiring volunteer is not like strange, but we have had the interested of working with volunteers since international volunteers since 2013. So there's someone trying to connect and see what we are doing, what we can do in your remote area. Remember sometime we find difficulty also challenge to have our empowering youth program youth to stay overnight in those areas as well because of how remote and how difficulty and challenges that we have found and we have had in the community. But to ensure that we work very good collaboration with the community council leader, with the village leader to ensure that we go together. And that is the benefit of the community. It's not the benefit of, it is benefit of you, but it's not just to say, this is because of me, I make it change. No, it's everybody. It's involving us together. And I would also raise one of the challenge that can also make it difficult is I know that you need to be empowered, you to be inspired, and like to use what is the progressive to show that I'm doing the best. But for us, we believe that what we have been giving to the other and people smiling and children smiling is the rewards of it internally and doesn't need to public say, oh, I'm doing this well. So that's what I believe that sustainability can come into the mindset, can change the behaviors of the community for them to go on by themselves. And then that's what we believe is sustainability.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bunli and Lady. I hope it answered the question. Since we have so many questions also on the Q&A box, so I think it's best for us to move on to the next question. We have one more person raised hand. It's Okay, I will allow you to talk. You can unmute yourself and mention your name and who you'd like to give your question to. It's Ike. Okay, if not, then I'll give the chance to Pegiawan Basopi. Oh, okay, Ike.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes, are you referring to the question that I put up in the registration form?
Sure, you can. You can reiterate that again here.
Okay. So my question is not particularly addressed to any particular panelist, but it's just a general question,
Yeah.
and maybe even Kenneth could give his input on this. Um, it would just be about how we can partner potentially with with Maybank and with ASEAN Foundation with any of the work that we are doing or any of the work that they are doing, and then we can just hop along the train that they are already heading with. So I was just wondering about, some of us have been so engrossed in our professional careers that we haven't had time to continue the work that we've done before, or the volunteering work we've done before. So are there any opportunities at all that we may be able to help with Maybank Foundation or ASEAN Foundation for that matter?
Okay. Thank you for your question. I think I'll give this question to Kenneth. Kenneth, perhaps you can share also your past experience with the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program.
Right. I think the crux of the question is, whether anyone who wants to volunteer can go about continuing the volunteering or even starting volunteering with the programs which has already been started, right? So I think this one really depends on what both foundations are offering. But I think in my mind, for example, what we've done in my project for the Empowering Youth program, nothing is stopping you from continuing the project, right? Most of the times it's really up to the volunteers. If you want to continue the project 1 year later, sometimes even, putting up some stories on Instagram, on Facebook, and to draw attention to people, even sometimes drawing donations or even more targets, and even including more beneficiaries. I think it's also helping. So I don't think I can fully answer the question because it was really about what the foundations have to offer, and I'll let them speak for themselves. But I think that for yourself, right, you can just figure out what you want to do and go along, because I don't think there's anything stopping you from volunteering your time or your effort in anything, right? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kenneth. And also, if you are curious to know more about Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program, later on after this, we will share the social media link where you can ask your questions, ask for opportunities to do your volunteering. So don't worry about that. Our committee will address that later. And now I'll move on to our Q&A box. We received so many questions. I will pick some of the questions that are interesting. And I see that some questions are also similar. So I'm just gonna choose some of the questions. Okay, I'll start with a question from Fifi Mardian from Indonesia. I'll give this question to Lady. During pandemic COVID-19, I could felt study on online system or e-learning. If the COVID-19 is still stay until next semester, what kind of volunteers we can create in education field? Lady, please.
All right. Thank you so much for the question, Fifi, regarding education and COVID-19. Um, all right. There's several things that a volunteers can do. Such as, for example, if you are into education, you may understand that a lot of young people, especially those who are outside Java, are having difficulty with internet. They're having difficulty in accessing education. So some teachers have to come to their house one by one to ensure that they actually understand and achieve the quality education. It depends on what kind of specialty that you have as a person or you as a team. If you are good in tech, probably you can help support um, these young people who are not able to achieve education through tech-based solutions. But if you are a teacher, I suppose it would be great if you can volunteer yourself as one of the teachers to reach out to those secluded areas that might not be able to achieve quality education because of the problems regarding internet access. However, you can also volunteers doesn't have to mean that you volunteer yourself physically directly in that area, but you can also volunteers create some kind of social movement that would be able to wider the access for young people to achieve education. It could be like some kind of a community movement to collect phones or internet data that are not accessible beyond the subsidies shared by government. I think there are some ideas that you can do. I suppose there are several ideas that have been implemented to kitabisa.com, or Ruang Guru also created some kind of a similar initiative in terms of education and COVID-19. I suppose you may also find more volunteering idea through indorelawan.com. Those are the platforms that are available in Indonesia. But for those who are not from Indonesia, I hope you also have the right platform where you can select volunteering programs in one platform. Otherwise, it would be a very good idea if you would like to start that community movement as well. I think that's my answer. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you very much, lady, for your answer. We're moving on to the next question. Okay, this question is from Daro Gerik von de la Cruz. I will give this question to I'll give this question to Bunli. The question is volunteerism only for those who have spare time? How can we make sure that we can still be active in volunteerism whilst having a full-time job?
Okay, thank you for the question, and it's a good question. What I can share about what we've been working together with the volunteerism, across the community. It's, of course, volunteer is you help with your heart, and it depends on your commitment to arrange, your time and what, where, when, why, and how your input or your work will make a change to the life or to the community that you want to be engaged in. And for us, with the volunteer that we have at the moment, that we've been working with the university student, with the local communities, the student from high school sometime as well, because the COVID-19, we still continuing our home-based classroom support to those rural children by having our local youth volunteer to go to each house and teach them based on the textbook that provided by the government. So that is about arranging the time together, and it's about arranging what is their, available time and the commitment. Of course, it is a challenge in timing, because here it's even though we work with the university student as a voluntary hub, that one of the initiative idea by the Empowering program last year we had voluntary reading. We still have until now the involvement on periodical basis, so it's a weekend. Because our cell and our local community volunteer also work on some free time which is available. We have 25 staff, and we ask mentor. Only 5 are from Battambang city. We have a small office here, but we spend most of the time 2 weeks in the rural area, which is about 100 kilometers from here. But the local communities and the students from here, that they are engaging in making arranged time together. For example, as in the photo I show, a group of students here go and help with the development workings. So the development weekend, sorry, is a development weekend where what they can do. One is to help teach children on the life skill, which is including how to, looking after themselves, wash, and as in that I show in video, the other student from the high school get engaged into promoting on how to prevent the COVID-19 into, a spread or understanding. And the best thing which we are working now is to have at the moment our training centers in those areas. So from this last year, we have one training center that established that I show you because of the starting we work together. And now we have the dorms and we have a training center. We have like a vocational training. And at the moment, Community Member Council has been engaged in arranging about the schedule. And we have quite a lot of interesting email from international volunteers say, how can I engage into this kind of work? Sometimes I say, is it possible that you come for 2 weeks and stay overnight there in the countryside? And the question keeps quiet. So the last question, the last thing that I would say is about the commitment and the time that you can manage and to help those people in the area. For course, I'm sure that we as a mentor or we as a team will help as much as we can with our time and our volunteers as well. Remember, what is specific for our team is we are from volunteer by ourselves. We are 25 together from the volunteers and we see how volunteer can help people. Sometimes we don't have a project funded for 1 year, no money, but we're still working as usual. With arrangement of our time, with arrangement of our, a team together across the 5 district area we've been working. But luckily, because our 85% of staff are locally recruited because of the local volunteer that we have been working together. And because we have international volunteer that we've been working since 2014, that they come in for 3 weeks on capacity training, they come in for 2 weeks for capacity training. So this is remaining and the sustainability for them to go on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bunli, for your very comprehensive answer. I think I'll give the chance next to Kenneth. Perhaps you can also address the same question that was given to Bunli. How can we volunteer while we also have full-time job? I see that we also received one interesting question about how to ensure that we volunteer not just because we want to look cool on social media and keep posting about our activity, but volunteer because we really want to help people. You can answer that very briefly. Please, Kenneth.
But I think it's a matter of priorities, right? Personal priorities, what you prioritize. And for the second part of the question, it's really up to you, right? What's the purpose of you volunteering? I think back to the first question, you can make leverage on what you have professionally. For example, you can mentor, students who are interested to work in your industry. That's just one form. And just to wrap it up, I think volunteerism is something similar to exercising, right? There are benefits to it. We exercise to keep fit. Some volunteer to have personal, professional development, but ultimately it feels good, right? Exercising feels good. That's why some people exercise. Volunteering feels good. That's why some people exercise. So it's really up to you. It's really up to your priorities and what you want. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. That perfectly wraps up our discussion today. So thank you very much to everyone who already participated. Thank you very much for your questions. I'm sorry that we couldn't cover all the questions, but if you still have more questions or would like to know more about the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN program and how this program can help your volunteerism project, you can visit ASEAN Foundation and Maybank Foundation's website and also social media handles. Team, I think we can show the next slide. Yeah, here you go. So you can visit the website and also the social media. We will keep you updated about the program and see how we can help you with your volunteer project. So I think that's all for the discussion today. I'll pass it back to our MC, Alda.
Thank you to all the speakers for the insightful discussion. And thank you, Ms. Jenier, for moderating the session. Next up, we will have a little evaluation, which you can fill in complete through the link as you can see on the screen and also on the chat box. And a certificate will be provided to the participants who have completed the evaluation and will be sent to you through email. Now, I will give you 3 minutes to fill in the survey.
I really want to contribute because I started my career as a volunteer 10 years ago, and now I have a quite good career and a lot of experience, a lot of networking in Laos, in ASEAN, and other countries in the world.
I volunteer because I have a really big concern toward children education right issues in Indonesia and also in other ASEAN countries.
Volunteering is sharing our time, sharing our energy in order to make the world a better place.
I personally define volunteering as the act of giving to help and giving to benefit others without getting paid or having any expectation of getting something in return.
To me, volunteering is being a part of a cause that serves as a betterment for your community. And nowadays, I think the word community is not only limited to the country that we're living in, but it also extends to the rest of the world as well.
The best part about volunteering is I have the opportunity to see myself and experience how people's lives change, and what matters most is to see people smile.
To be a leader, a stronger, focused, and fierce leader is why I want to join this program. To be given the opportunity to widen so many aspects in myself to help this community is something I want to be a part of.
Basically, I volunteer because it is worth my time. And knowing that I am helping someone, when I volunteer, I feel I am connected with people and its community serving towards one goal.
Youth is an essential source of community development because they have skill, potential, and creativity that can contribute to making a big impact to their country as well as to the ASEAN community as a whole.
Bringing together ASEAN as a whole is just a first step in bringing together a global humanitarian movement, and one that is bound to unlock a lot more potential in that.
I see IA as a great opportunity for me to develop myself, not only as an individual, but it also allows me to be a competent change maker in my community.
ASEAN is one of the most prestigious volunteering platforms across Southeast Asia, and I do believe with ASEAN I can maximize the potential or the impact that I could give back to the society.
Thank you to all of you who have completed the evaluation survey. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of today's webinar. Please allow us to send our deepest appreciation to everyone for giving us your attention. We would like to express our sincerest gratitude for the enormous support we received from our partners for making this webinar a success. Finally, we would like to thank our attendees for your engagement in this webinar. If you want to watch this webinar again, you can rewatch it on our YouTube channel. Please stay tuned for our next upcoming event. Until then, please stay safe and have a great day. Thank you and goodbye.